on the style.
So you got on train. It's really
Sorry.
popping.
Shall I do this?
Bring it this way.
Like this. Just chat.
Brilliant start.
Gosh.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Arbor Wellness, Mind, Body and Bits. We are at season 5. What the hell? And today I have a really exciting guest. I know I say that every single week, but I am particularly buzzing because I haven't seen Lawrence for, years and years. We did a very embarrassing, we've just spoken about it, podcast called Pillow Chats a long time ago with a friend of mine, where I asked Lawrence to get in my bed with Emily. It sounds really weird, doesn't it?
So I think that it was literally the first time that I was meeting.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was getting into bed, and I had you on one side, Emily on the other, camera at the bottom of the bed, and the rest is history.
Great way to start this podcast. I hope you're now fully invested in listening to this. Anyway, Lawrence is one of London's top personal trainers. He's been personal training for a long time. You're a dad, and I would touch on saying a comedian at times.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, that's the only compliment you're getting. So welcome. Thanks for joining.
Oh, Georgie, thank you so much. And I honestly, I wanted to say, and I was thinking on the way over here, how cool that we're going to not just have a proper catch-up, we're going to sit down, we're going to record it, and this is just beautiful. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
No, we're excited to have you. How is life?
Gosh,
that's a big question.
Life is busy, but life is good. Obviously, we have a few days until Christmas. In the morning, I am driving to Italy with my family, 2 kids in the back, which, is damage limitation for a 12-hour drive. And I'm tying up all the loose ends at the moment, as everyone is. It's a bit of a bottleneck week from a business point of view, tying up all those loose ends with my clients and my businesses and so on. So yeah, it's good, but it's busy. And I'm looking forward to getting onto the slopes in 2 days' time.
Oh, skiing, stop. So jealous. So jealous. I need to book myself a skiing holiday next year, but as you'll know, it's so difficult to book time off, right?
Yeah, it's very difficult. You almost need to be kind of strong-armed by someone else. So we're meeting up with my brother and his family, and my parents come along as well. So it's a good excuse to have like a family Christmas. And I haven't taken the kids skiing yet. So
have you not?
They haven't. That's their first time. They're only 4 and 7.
Magic.
But yeah.
Magic.
I'm introduced to it.
I went on forced leave. My team kicked me out. They actually muted me from the WhatsApp groups to Morocco 4 days. So I'm good, but skiing is on my agenda.
When was that? When did you head off?
Went to Morocco 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I know you can't tell. I've lost my tan.
No, it's great. I think those little kind of timeouts, you need to sort of change and shift the environment just to have that perspective, get away from the cold face. And I'm sure you came back feeling refreshed and full of mental clarity.
I did. 4 days of surfing just sorts me out. Really does.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to ask, we ask on this podcast to every single guest, what is your definition of wellness? That's how we sort of kick things off.
Oh, okay.
And it'd be really interesting to know yours because you've been in the industry for so long, right?
Straight in there. Gosh.
Sorry, it puts everyone on the spot.
Well, no, I know my answer to this. It might not be someone else's answer, but the great thing is that, like
everyone's different.
Everyone's different. And like art has its own definitions to different people. I think wellness has its, different definitions to different people as well. So I think to fully understand my definition of wellness, you have to kind of understand my belief system that we are the sum of 3 parts. And this is kind of ancient wisdom, so it's nothing new. I'm not kind of reinventing the wheel, but I do truly see ourselves as being our physical entity, our body. We're not a body, we have a body, but we also have a mind. Yeah. We're not a mind, we have our mind. And then thirdly, we have our awareness or soul or spirit, whatever you feel comfortable calling it, because I know everyone's different on that front. And so for me, true wellness is alignment. That's one of my favorite words at the moment, alignment between all 3. So, when we're looking after our body, which is garden of the soul, according to lots of Buddhist philosophy as well, then we are able to tune into that expanded, deeper awareness, our soul, our spirit. And then when we do so, integrating mindfulness as well, we're able to observe our thoughts and monitor our mind and our ego and all the elements that it brings to us. And when all 3 elements, as I say, are in alignment, you feel grounded, you feel centered, you feel clear. It's a beautiful feeling, and to me, that's what wellness is.
I absolutely, I'm aligned with your answer.
Yes, come on.
Because that's exactly what Arbor is all about. And also, there's a trend that is coming in 2024, according to, I think it was the Whoop data, like paper that they just produced for the end of the year in terms of holistic, looking after your wellness in a holistic way. So those 3 touch points that you mentioned, all integrating with each other, is just the best way to look after yourself, no?
100%, and that's why I've evolved as you say, been in the industry a while as a coach. Started out as a rugby player, so it was all about sports performance, very physical. But as the years have progressed, in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really become about combining fitness with mindfulness for that very reason.
Do you think that men are taking a little longer to embrace? Let's say I'm not making any bold statements here. Embrace mindfulness, or to be aware of emotions and feelings and how they feel and how their mind affects their body affects their mind. Do you think it's taking men a little longer than women, or is it just a societal thing?
No, I think it is. I know this is spoken about a lot, that it's been a challenging time for men to understand their emotions and to almost separate their nervous system from their emotions, which can, we've all been in those situations where we're feeling a bit stressed, we're feeling a bit tired and angry, and that can so often impact our emotions and our feelings, and then the way that we act. But I think men are becoming more in alignment, or more tuned in to stepping back, and I think mindfulness creates the space that we need in order to have a choice of how we respond in a certain situation rather than react. And I know that from the men that I've been working with, and I work with a lot of men with my online coaching, that there are so many of them who came to me at the start to work on their fitness, and there might be a body composition goal or something similar. But as we've kind of gone through the weeks and months talking about mindfulness, they've had those epiphany moments, understanding that they can manage their emotions with the way that they manage themselves physically, and through their mindfulness work, and they can almost create that separation in order to be aware of them and express them in a healthy way rather than being controlled by them. And again, it's a generalization, but in my experience, a lot of men have struggled until they've taken that step and embraced mindfulness. They've struggled to separate themselves from their emotions, and I think mindfulness is the key to being able to create that space and that distance to have a choice to respond in a way that serves you and serves others around you.
Yeah, it's very unique, isn't it? My next question was, how do you practice mindfulness? How do you personally do it? Because everyone's so different, right?
Everyone's so different, and I have a formal practice, but I also have a kind of on-the-go practice, if you like.
Go on then.
So
I'm ready.
Well, mindfulness is a state of mind in order to live our life in a certain way. We can get so caught up and obsessed with the formal practices that we forget the whole point of it is integration into everyday lives. It's to enhance our life experience by being more in alignment with ourselves and interacting with the external world outside of our internal environment in a better, healthier way. So we must remember that whilst formal practice is important, it's exactly that. It's a practice in order to take it out and actually embody it in our day-to-day lives. So my formal practices, I'm a huge believer in breathwork meditations, because it's very hard if we're just focusing on that one of the 3 entities, our mind. So often our mind is interlinked with our nervous system and the way and the state that our nervous system is in. And if you have an upregulated nervous system, because you're stressed a lot and you're busy and you have all these kind of work schedules and all these pressures on you, then it's very hard to get to a place of calm and mental clarity from there. So the step 1 would be to downregulate your nervous system using breath work, so that you can then integrate maybe the affirmations or the meditation practices that you can then truly embody to take out into the wider world. And I liken it to being a gardener and trying to plant a seed in unfertile soil. It's very hard, and the seed may represent an idea of how you want to be or an affirmation, and until you've done the work to curate the right nervous system by downregulation, it's very hard to plant that seed in unfertile soil. As I said, that will fertilize the soil in order for that seed to grow. So I use breathwork and I use ice baths to regulate my nervous system in order to implement the right affirmations and mindfulness practices. That's my formal practice. And then I have kind of on-the-go routine. So I drive in the morning into London because I live in the countryside outside of London. So I'll listen to binaural beats as I drive. So it's, excuse me, it's not it's not music with lyrics. It's more like a vibration or a frequency.
So interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And then as I drive,
Yeah.
I will try to focus on triangle breathing. So it'll be diaphragmatic breathing, nasal inhale. I'll pause at the top of the inhale, and then I'll extend the exhale through my mouth, and that will help to down-regulate the nervous system. And then as I'm driving, I'm kind of noticing what's around me and trying to be truly present and rest in that awareness rather than allow myself to go off into stories of the mind about future and the past and so on. So that's the integration, and allows me to arrive at my destination, which is often to work with my in-person high-performance clients at the start of their day, and it's primed me so that I can prime them for their day. So that's the kind of integration part.
I love that you do it in the car, which is seen as quite a stressful situation, especially in London, especially this time of year. I love that it's so interesting that you do it, because I often talk of meditation. A lot of people think they need to be in a dark room with their eyes closed for 40 minutes for it to have an impact. So I'm like, sometimes it's 5 minutes on dog walk, just using your breath or certain 100%. Sounds and frequencies to help regulate your nervous system or calm anxieties. Yes. Okay, ice baths, I really, really want to try. Yes. I just can't bring myself. I get so cold, I can't tell you, but the benefits are phenomenal, right?
Yeah. So there are a whole host of different benefits, and some of them are physiological, regulating your nervous system. You get a stress shock response when you get in. So your nervous system upregulates, and it's you tighten up. You go shallow vertical breathing, and it's very similar to anxiety or stress or being in that panic moment. And you learn the process of being okay in that state, of observing it through mindfulness, again, creating separation, so you aren't your nervous system reaction to it. And then as you notice it, you can start to use your breathwork to down-regulate the nervous system into more of a parasympathetic state. So again, you go into your triangle breathing protocol, and slowly but surely you start to down-regulate the nervous system. You start to feel yourself being more comfortable. The stress shock response dissipates, and then you feel very calm and very clear. And I do it outside. I like it quite rustic. I have a barrel at the bottom of the garden overlooking the field, and I like to do it when the sun's setting in the distance. Honestly, it's a real integration with nature, because you're so fully present. You can't be mentally time traveling forward or back. You have to be so present in the moment. And then I'm in there for 4 minutes, and by the end of it, I feel very clear and
respect.
Yeah, no, it goes quickly. When you focus on your breath and your breathing, it goes quickly. And the biggest thing for me with there are two big reasons why I do it. So it is a wonderful way of managing stress in everyday life. So if you're someone who suffers from chronic stress or anxiety, then I haven't come across a better methodology for regulating that and managing it, number one. And then number two, the psychological resistance that so many people struggle with. So many people haven't written the book they want to, or they haven't written the paper they want, or whatever it might be, or they haven't got fit because they are in their own way with mental resistance.
Yeah.
So it's the practicing of overcoming that mental
discipline
resistance.
Almost.
Yeah, totally. So you stand at the top of the ice bath. You never want to get in. You, again, create space through mindfulness between that mental reaction of your thoughts saying, don't get in, coming up with all the excuses not to get in, and you create action beyond that. And as you repeat that overcoming of resistance time again, it becomes transferable into all the other areas of your life. And for me, that's become the number one reason why I do it.
Because it's improved other parts of your life.
Yeah,
wow.
like, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just man up.
You can't say that anymore. You're not allowed to say
I'm not allowed to say
anymore.
that. Oh God. Okay.
Human up.
I need to woman up. I need to get in an ice bath. Yeah, I guess you could build it up, can't you? So 10, 20, 30. There's actually a place that's just open literally opposite my flat with an ice bath. There's no excuse now.
Well, you should build it up, because obviously it's a stressor, and in order for healthy adaptation to occur, we want to kind of slowly expose the body to the right stress and stimulus for that positive adaptation to occur. So cold showers are great to start. Great place to start.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
That's easy. Okay, fine. Moving slightly towards the fitness side of things, you referenced training intelligently, which I find such an awesome saying. I often come on this podcast and get rage about the fitness industry at the moment. So I love that you use the word intelligently in that, or I use the word effectively or lot of the time.
Nice.
What does that mean to you, training intelligently? What does that mean?
Again, it comes down to awareness, self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So we need systems and structures in all aspects of life. Particularly with training, we need, programming and systems and structures to be disciplined about, but we need freedom around that as well to trust our human intuition and to create a sense of awareness around what serves us best in that moment.
Yeah.
And quite often, if we don't have that self-awareness, again, if we're unable to create space between our truth and our deeper needs versus our kind of surface reactionary ego-led state, then we can get pulled into areas that maybe don't serve us, and it happens all the time in the fitness industry. Yeah. There are these hooks that feel so enticing, or
quick fixes,
or maybe comparison for someone else's journey, or maybe there's this big shiny thing that's being marketed to us that we want to jump on board. But again, if we can just find the ability to pause, breathe, tune into what our deeper truth and needs are, and then approach it in a way that serves us. So many people, again, aren't living in alignment, and it creates dysfunction in many areas. I think dysfunction is normal now. It's normal to have breathing dysfunction when you're shallow breathing vertically into shoulders. It's normal to have back pain. These are all dysfunctions, and they're all as a result of modern living. But if we can use fitness intelligently, effectively, in a way that serves us, then it becomes the antidote to modern living, and it doesn't compound the issues that we experience.
Yeah. Do you think that you will pass this on to your kids?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying not to be the pushy parent, but
yeah, there's a line, right?
Totally. But I think what they see impacts them more than what you sit them down and tell them they should do. Totally. So my garden office gym studio thingy is in the garden, and when the kids come home from school, my daughter, who's 7, will always come and join me. And no joke, she gets on the assault bike. She's in a school uniform, and I'm like, okay, just chill. And she's like loving it.
Wow.
And then she gets into handstands, and then she gets the dumbbells, and she shoulder pressed 4 kilograms overhead the other day, which again, I'm not saying a 7-year-old. Well, she was 6 at the time. Again, I'm not saying that that's what 6-year-olds should be doing, but she came in, she did a lovely little push press movement, locked it out perfectly 3 times, and I was like, my work here is done. You may go into the world and,
go push press into the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all you need to learn how to do a good push press.
But honestly, I think as long as a parent I'm praising effort rather than, outcomes or chasing various things, I think that's the thing that I try to celebrate. So they're really into art as well, particularly my daughter. So I always celebrate the effort that they put in and the exploring with curiosity more than anything else.
There's a lot of talk about that, the generation of, what is it, Alpha generation, it's Gen Z, what's the one below that?
Oh, do you know what?
I don't
I
really
see
know
this
either.
pop up in articles all the time, and I'm like, I should Google what all this means. But we're in certain categories, right, according to...
Millennials, baby boomers, Gen Z.
Okay.
There's one underneath that your kids will be in.
Right, I'll take your word for it, yeah.
We'll find out the name, put it below, guys. Sorry, too old to know. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of articles, there's a lot of noise about kids growing up very, very unhealthy in this society, not really understanding wellness, what wellness is, nutrition, movement and stuff like that. I mean, for me, I didn't have any of that knowledge at school, and I feel like it's getting worse almost, mental health, all of this. How do you think, it's a big question again, sorry, firing on them, I told you I'd go off topic. How do you think that we can bring this to that generation? How can we teach them to be more in tune with their body, intuitive movement, intuitive eating, learning how to take care of themselves? I never learnt that at school. I don't know about you. How?
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest questions of our generation as technology advances and will continue to advance beyond levels that we grew up with or can even imagine at the moment, that our kids will be, integrating into their lives and managing around. And I think the way I see it is that the bigger technology gets, the bigger, again, we have to offset it by getting back to basics, downing tools and getting back to nature. And this is why forest school, my wife is a teacher and she's a trained forest school teacher, and they have the tech in the classroom because the children have to learn how to use it and incorporate it for their careers. But then they also down tools, and they spend whole afternoons out in the forest without any tech, and they get with the sticks out. They learn how to kind of make toys with the sticks. They learn about the nature around them, They have that dexterity with their hands and their feet as they climb up trees, and so they understand the balance, full scope range of what it is to be a human.
Love that.
And I think that maybe we didn't have such exposure when we were younger to all that because tech wasn't so prevalent as it is now. But with technology getting where it is, we need to balance things out. And Forest School was a great example of how to do that, I think.
I haven't heard of Forest School. I don't have kids. That's probably why.
Yeah. Oh, it's getting bigger and bigger. And again, I think us in the wellness industry, our role will be to help guide people, to help get them back into alignment, to help get them away from tech and to move their body, to breathe, to regulate the nervous system, to be mindfully aware of their thoughts, not be their thoughts, but have their thoughts and understand them. And all this kind of stuff, the best place to happen for this to happen is in nature, and our bodies still recognize nature as our home. So we'll probably I hope to see a rise in wellness retreats in nature, forest bathing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sign me up. I'm there. If anyone runs one, let me know. Your social media cuts through a lot of BS.
Oh, thank you.
I feel.
Thank you very much.
Which is really refreshing. There's a lot of wild stuff on Instagram in particular, right?
Yeah.
How you referenced twice going back to basics, and I think that's just the key here. How would you advise someone perhaps listening to this podcast, perhaps they're a corporate user of Avra and they have a manic job, maybe at a law firm, whoever it is, and they are constantly seeing trends, quick fixes, BS online that they try and follow, doesn't work, get downhearted. We've seen this trend again and again and again, this cycle. How would you advise them to get to basics, to cut down, basically?
Well, I think the key phrase is that principles are few, methods are many, and those who go and explore all the various methods without a baseline of principles will run into trouble. But those who have a baseline of the few principles can incorporate the necessary methods that relate to those principles and do well. So the three key pillars of physical well-being, and if the body's the garden for the soul, that leads you on to being able to go and explore your mindfulness endeavors as well. But if you have your, I think this is for me, my approach, your pillar number one, resistance-based training. Yeah. So whatever shape or form that looks like for you. And then pillar number two would be your general day-to-day movement, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just to get moving, ideally in nature, if you can take a walk in the park or if you live in the countryside. And then pillar number three, of course, is the food that nourishes you, that you eat, and to try and eat within. You don't need to be so specific, but just to have a general understanding of the right calorie macro value windows for you, and you can diversify again as much as possible within that framework. I think that if you simplify things and you come back into alignment with those principles, you can enjoy all the various different methods out there, and sometimes we need a refresh and we need to go to a different gym, different classes, but as long as it all relates back to those three pillars, then we'll have the consistency that we need, I think, to have a strong home, i.e. our body, and that physical strength will be there. You'll have fertile soil to plant that seed. I mean, come back to those three pillars and you won't go far wrong.
Do you think people have lost that simplicity due to social media?
Yeah, I mean, too much information can pull us off a different track, and it is very enticing. And social media, by its very design, is a whole host of people trying to grab your attention. And my advice would be to sort of, again, use mindfulness to, by all means, observe it, but be able to kind of pause, step back and ask yourself, what is the goal of the person presenting the information to you, and what is your truth? What are the needs that you have in relation to it? And it's very easy to get triggered in social media, but again, mindfully, you can almost catch yourself being triggered and release it, move on, release it, move on. Or you can find yourself getting pulled into a bit of information, a trend that doesn't serve you, and you can catch yourself in that moment and you can release it and you can move on. So it all comes down to self-management.
Yeah. So true. So true. I was just thinking while she was saying, answering that, being a personal trainer, going to clients' houses like you do, honestly, I worked at a gym for 4 years and then did it for about 5 years. Yeah. one of the hardest things to do in the world, I think. I'm saying that running a business now, traveling client to client to client, being present for your clients, almost like you're not acting, but you are having to perform in front of your client in terms of you have to switch on.
Yeah.
It is exhausting. How do you, I know you've mentioned your, your ice baths and your mindfulness, and you do all these practices and you fit them in. How on earth do you fit them in?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, because we've known each other for a while, and I remember you working in that way, and I was working in a similar way. But the last 3 or 4 years, slightly different. I used to do exactly that, and I calculated the other day, I've conducted over 12,000 in-person workouts over the years. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's insane.
It's crazy. And then a lot of that was done either split between the gym, traveling around, and then again looking back, I definitely was not managing my energy in order for the best version of me to show up. But I, as you say, kind of try to act as much as possible that my best version was there, but inside you might be struggling,
exhausted,
might be feeling pretty burnt out. Nowadays, I'm extremely lucky that the only in-person coaching I do is to families or to individuals, and because it's very structured, I'm able to prime myself, as mentioned earlier, in the car before I get there, so I can prime them for the day. And that's the only in-person coaching I do nowadays, and then the rest of it will be online with my online coaching clients. So I'm able to manage myself so the best version of me shows up in work far better. And I would urge any other coaches who might be listening to this that the work that you put in on yourself, and that sometimes is as simple as taking time out and breathing, not always necessarily about building the body. Sometimes it is just about creating ease and flow of the mind. The more you work on yourself, the more powerfully you will show up for the roles and relationships in your life. And this is something I've learned in recent years as a coach. It's not selfish to put yourself first. It's essential. And your business will be...
I need to write that as a quote on my wall.
Well, I've found that you show up more powerfully for your clients. They benefit. It has a bigger impact in their lives. Your business benefits. Less can be more when it comes to working for yourself in any industry, but particularly in the fitness industry.
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. That leads me so nicely, thank you, onto the trend of the week, which Dave and I have a domestic about this weekly. We have very different opinions, so I really wanted to ask yours on AI personal trainers, which are about to sort of boom, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm slightly scared of them. I know that AI is an incredibly intelligent tool, and it's going to really, really help in a lot of instances. Yeah. Not sure how I feel about someone personal training you that's not actually having that human connection with somebody. Yeah,
totally. And I think there's been a bit of dis-ease in the fitness industry. A lot of coaches kind of worrying that, they won't, like in every industry, that they won't be so required, which I don't believe. For decades, people have been able to look up the information about what to do. People have been able to understand.
And still use PTs.
Yeah, because people need, I think, to have a figurehead that leads them, that they're inspired by, that they can relate to, and shows them, most importantly, how to incorporate this into a human life, into the way, all the emotions that we experience when we get in our own way, all the hierarchy of needs that happens outside of our fitness endeavors, whether that's family related or whether that's business related. If you're guided through someone who experiences those very same challenges but still able to lead from the front and incorporate the right systems and structures to live a healthy lifestyle, you're far more likely to integrate it into yours, because you feel inspired by a vision of your future self that you believe in, that it's possible, because the person guiding you has been there themselves. Whereas if it's just information being regurgitated out of your phone, great, that's going to help us, to sort of keep ourselves educated. But when it comes to creating action in our lives, I think we need figureheads, people who are kind of leading from the front and helping us to incorporate it into our lives. Yeah.
Well, it's things like form in terms of correcting somebody, having that interaction is really important, especially if you're at the beginning of your fitness journey, I feel.
Yes.
So AI isn't going to... I have very strong... Dave's going to tell me off. Very strong opinions about it.
Yes. Well, there's certain nuances with form that so for something from the outside might look like mechanically it looks good, like take a squat, you know, we look from the outside because AI will see the various hinge points and be like, you've just performed a squat, good, or go a bit deeper.
Yeah.
But in terms of the nuances that we would notice as humans, like little slight rocks in the feet that would maybe highlight that the body weight is shifting forward into the balls of the feet and overloading the knees a little bit and the tension distribution is off, you can't really sense that unless you have, you know, coached many hours, you've had many conversations, you've felt it yourself, you have flesh and bone that you actually understand. So, you know, I think like all things, it'll provide a good cost-effective baseline to lots of people who maybe won't have had the opportunity to have been coached in the past. So it would be great to make fitness more accessible to wider populations. But in terms of the nuances and the quality that comes through from human interaction, it's impossible to match that. I
also think you can't replicate genuine human connection, even if it's with someone who's speaking to you, talking, telling you what to do. You can't replicate it. Well,
one of the key coaching ethos is connect first, correct second. So basically AI jumps straight to point 2, which is correct. But if you haven't connected with someone first of all, it's very hard to find that common ground that will actually help them to action out all those.
I always say finding a PT is like finding a therapist. You don't always fit with them.
Yeah.
The connection thing.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I think one of the most kind of sacred, powerful things a human can do for another human is just hold space for them. And, you know, again, in our early days as PTs, I know I certainly thought I had to fix every problem that my client came to me with. But I've learned in recent years that actually the most powerful thing to do is just hold space with compassion and love and just be there to allow someone to voice whatever they're going through. And the answers are often already within us, but if we can verbalize it and share it in a safe space, then it helps us to navigate it a little bit better. And again, I can't imagine that same level of space and compassion being held by
Absolutely
AI.
Not. No. God, no. Okay, so this podcast is coming out in January. What is your number one, again, putting you on the spot, tip for someone who wants to try and implement these things that we've spoken about and that you've spoken about in this podcast, and they're a little bit overwhelmed perhaps, they've got a busy life, busy job. What's the number one thing you would start with to try and get a little fitter, healthier, energized?
So the first thing I would do is not jump straight to training plan. Don't jump straight into action, because that to me is step 3. I take all of my online clients through a 3-step process. So before they do anything, they go through a mindfulness practice in which they actually go through step 1, which is to create real clarity around the vision that I call their future best self. So instead of just having a general goal, you actually feel it, see it, taste it, touch it. You formally sit down, you go through the journey of meeting that person and stepping into them so that you understand what that future vision of what could be by the end of 2024, let's say, if you're doing it in January 2024. So that's step 1, clarity around your future best self. And then step 2 is real emotional intent to get there. Like you have to feel it in your nervous system, in your bones. It has to be something that you will actualize. You have that belief so you can embody it, right? And that's step 3, is to embody all of the habits and actions that align with that goal and that vision. There's that expression, which I don't agree with, but the expression fake it till you make it. It's not about that. It's about embodying your future best self, all the habits and actions synonymous with that person, embodying it before it happens in order for it to happen. So if you go through those 3 steps rather than just charging straight in and burning out within a month, then I think you could create life-changing change in January 2024.
Golden. Absolutely golden. For anyone who's overwhelmed, do exactly that. Or speak to Lawrence. Go train with him. Right, we do this thing called Final Questions of the Week, and I never prep anyone.
Okay.
And I want to ask, in the last week, what's the best thing that's happened to you? What's the worst thing that's happened to you? I know, sorry.
I can't even remember what happened yesterday.
And what you've learned from it. I'm the same. Literally can't remember 24 hours ago.
Yes. It's funny, isn't it? When you're busy, you just kind of focus where your feet are.
Yeah, just one step forward at a time. But anyway, there must be a highlight. Some people come on this podcast and say, my tire was flat and that was the worst thing that happened. So it can be so simple.
Okay. Well, I think the best thing that kind of happened to me is I had my daughter's birthday party, our 7th birthday party on the weekend, and we went to the pottery cafe where you paint your pottery and you kind of sit around and kind of paint pottery. So I had a look. It's combination. It's that lovely moment, just seeing her with just had 8 of her friends, and they were just having a lovely kind of moment. And my son, who's 4, started to get quite affectionate, and he started to kiss me and tell me that he loves me. And I think I had those both things on the same day. So it was just like, I feel, my heart is full. And then the worst thing that happened to me, I'm disappointed in myself. So, I think part of this kind of personal growth journey is we kind of try and show up in the as best as we can for ourselves and for our family and our professional lives. And then yesterday, just with the bottleneck of everything that's going on, tying up all the loose ends with work, getting ready all the admin before we go away on holiday and so on, and it was like late last night, and I was kind of hurriedly trying to create all this to get my holiday and ski insurance for the family all sorted and all this kind of thing. And then I had a real inner child moment, when you kind of, you've been on some website for an hour, filling in all the details, making it work, and then something happens and it all just deletes and goes away, and it's like midnight and you're like, I wanted to go to bed so I could get up early. And I had like a 30-second tantrum, which was like my 4-year-old self just like, hitting the walls and just like, what? And then I paused and I was like, okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Why are you disappointed in that? That's really healthy, to have a 4-year-old tantrum.
No, because afterwards I was just like, okay, that's my kind of inner child coming out. And you're right, it's kind of recognition of that, and then kind of being okay with it and just kind of coming back. But then I went back, and actually the website was fine. It was me just being very neurotic, very tired, and very silly with myself. And so it was just a little reminder to myself, maybe to go and do a bit of breath work, to pause, to check in with myself, explore where that was coming from. There's this acronym RAIN that I really like, RAIN, and the first thing is to recognize. Step 1, just recognize, and you can do this with a meditation. And then step 2 is just to allow. It's not to judge it as good or bad, and that automatically melts a lot of the frustration away. And then I is to investigate. You just kind of investigate where it's coming from. Okay, maybe I'm a bit tired, maybe I'm a bit stressed, and then N is nurture. So you flood yourself and give yourself the same kind of compassion and love that you would give to a friend or a family member who is in that state, and then you just feel it all melt away. You feel this stuff come back into alignment, and then you're like, oh, it's a bit silly just then. I get on with my day now and everything's fine. So
I do that far too much. But have a little tantrum.
Well, I think it's important for us to keep this real. Like, we talk about working on ourselves and personal growth, and we're all hopefully growing year on year, but we're never going to lose those moments. We're always going to sort of have moments that we are disappointed in ourselves, or we speak to someone the way we regret afterwards. But if we can recognize it, and if we can then process it and learn from it and move on, then I think that's all part of the growth journey.
Growth, yeah, for sure. My gosh, thank you so much. I could continue speaking about fitness and wellness and all of this forever with you, but thank you so much for coming on. I will leave all of Lawrence's links below. Definitely go and check out his Instagram. I find it really refreshing, and I barely say this. T, who's in the corner, will vouch that I literally barely say that I find someone's Instagram very refreshing. So do go check it out. Happy New Year. Here's to 2024 being more, let's say it together, aligned.
Oh, that's the word. Alignment, the word of 2024.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.